NASCAR Sprint Cup Series ran 500 miles Sunday at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Through all the slipping and sliding, runaway wheels, and other assorted storylines, the theme of the day was a dominant deuce.
Boy, I tell you, that two-car has really come alive this year. I don't think it hurt anything because he didn't hit it hard. He just kind of scraped it.
Into left rear, right?
Kurt Busch retakes the lead. Kurt Busch got up and into the wall again.
That's his favorite spot.
Kurt Busch will lead them out of turn number 4. The drag race to the checkered flag will be won by Kurt Busch in the Miller Lite Dodge.
Kurt Busch, Roger Penske win in Atlanta. Second win here for Kurt Busch. And in his 296 starts, it's the most laps he's ever led in one day.
Kurt Busch led 234 of 330 laps en route to his 19th Sprint Cup Series win, a victory that moved him into a tie with Davey Allison, Buddy Baker, and Fonty Flock on the all-time win list. Jeff Gordon finished second, continues to lead the championship, even though Kurt dominated. There's plenty to review. We break it down with our roundtable panel next on NASCAR Now. From the Home Depot Garage Studio, we welcome you to the Monday Roundtable edition of NASCAR Now. Alan Bestwick with Ray Evernham, Mike Wallace, and Ricky Craven here to take you through all the very eventful happenings of Hotlanta over the weekend. Surprised or not surprised, the two-car pitted on that last caution before the green-white checker.
Well, I was surprised at first, but since I've talked to everybody about tire wear and found out the race is just like Darlington, now I'm not surprised.
Surprised or not surprised?
After watching the race, which I watched it, not surprised, had to do it.
At the moment, oh my gosh, I don't want to pit. You know, as a driver, I don't want to pit, but it was brilliant.
Yeah, it ended up being a call that helped him win the race. Let's start our review of the race by looking at the day of the winner, Kurt Busch. Started on the front row. He was second quickest in qualifying to Mark Martin. It took him 7 laps to get past Mark for the lead. Of course, 3 of those 7 laps were run under the caution flag. Once he got out front, Kurt would lead early and often. He was out front, as I said, 234 of the 330 laps. Even when somebody else found a way to the front, it didn't last for long. Example, Ryan Newman got out first on lap 13 pit stops. Lap 18, there goes Kurt, back to the point. Biggest stretch of the race, Kurt was not the leader. Came after this race off pit road. That's Jeff Gordon edging Kurt and Jimmy Johnson for the top spot off the pit lane. Jeff got away for a bit once the green resumed, but eventually Kurt ran him down and went back to the point at lap 251. Now, big decisions for crew chief Pat Trison. One where he didn't pit, one where he did. After a lap 267 crash involving Scott Speed and Greg Biffle in the 82 and 16 cars, Trison left the deuce on the track. They only had 2 laps of green flag racing on the tires.
Right, at that time, the trade-off time on tires versus gain was just not a good enough chance to take.
Kurt opened up a big lead on second place Brian Vickers, but then with around 20 to go, the Vic began closing back in, both running the extreme high line around the Atlanta track. Now, caution with 3 laps to go in the scheduled distance put crew chief Pat Trison on the line for another decision, the caution for a Robbie Gordon shredded right rear tire. And this time, he called the 2-car in from the lead.
And the decision he makes affects the next 3 or 4 cars behind him.
Carl Edwards' team goes for right side tires. That puts Kurt second in line for the green-white checker restart. He didn't waste any time.
He didn't waste any time. He timed the start right, give him just enough space. He knew he had to get by Carl before, you know, a possible caution would come out.
Jeff Gordon gave pursuit, but there would be no last corner Atlanta challenge this time. And this time, the fastest car won. Kurt Busch to the checkers first in Atlanta.
It just feels great to be able to have a dominant Dodge Charger like that and to have all my guys give me great pit stops. You race the track 500 miles one way, and then you have a green-white checker, and it's a whole different ball game. And the whole day I'm thinking, you know, Jeff Gordon's running strong, and it's reminding me of Darlington. The guys won there 1,000 times, and I just kept thinking race the racetrack. And that's really what enabled us to handle like we did and not get too excited. I did brush the wall a few times, and that was just because I was racing a competition instead of the racetrack.
The pit crew did an awesome job. You know, the calls here are fairly easy. It's pretty easy. You got to put 4 tires on almost every time. You know, I know Bob took a chance there at the end, but I felt pretty comfortable that having 4 would be better for us. And, you know, Kurt did an awesome job. Pit crew did an awesome job. And can't say enough about everybody at Penske Racing, how hard everybody worked this winter to help accomplish this.
It's just the culmination of all the hard work. Everybody pulling their heads together and realizing what we had last year and what should be the new direction for this year. And I don't think we have one spring the same in the race car. We have better engines from Penske Power. We're doing it all the way around. There's not anything that we didn't improve on.
It's interesting, this is the same car we ran in California, so it looks like we can run a car at least 2 races now, right, Pat? You guys like this one. I don't know what you're going to name this one, but to me it was coming together. Kurt didn't lose faith. I know sometimes last year we wondered, whether we'd fallen off the train, but I think we stayed together. Not a lot of turnover on our team over the offseason. We were one of the teams that kept our people. The overall guys, Pat obviously, Kurt hung in, and he saw what we were doing to try to get a better car, and I think it's shown in the last 4 races that, we're back in business.
Now, follow me on this one, guys. NASCAR does this thing using the electronic scoring called driver rating. 150 is a perfect score. Kurt did that Sunday for a 4th time. The only driver to do that more than once since it's been tracked, which was starting in 2005. What it basically means is when Kurt wins, he wins big. This driver rating is kind of like the quarterback rating in football. I have no idea what it actually means, but they like to put that out there. Anyway, talk about some specifics now within Kurt Busch's day of the Atlanta race. It's not unusual to see somebody move to the high line at Atlanta after a few laps, after the tires get some wear on them. Kurt started out in the high line, stayed there from green flag to checkered flag. I thought that was kind of different than what we usually see.
Yeah, but it was key because there was more tire wear than normal, Alan. And what it does is it allows you to save the front tires on corner entry because as you roll in, you don't turn the wheel as much. It saves the rear tires on exit because you made a wider arc, and you don't have to get back to the gas as hard because you have more speed through the middle. So he's saving the front, he's saving the rear, and it pays off in the end of the long run.
It's got to be uncomfortable being that close to the wall.
Well, Ricky's being real technical. I thought it was they had little caster wheels on the right side of the car, and they could run up against the wall and keep all the speed up. That's how far up the racetrack he was. But, that's the great part from the driver's side at Atlanta. Top of the racetrack, bottom, middle. You can race everywhere.
The 2 decisions that Pat Tryson had to make as crew chief, we touched on them in the highlight, but I want to get back and touch on them again. The morning at lap 267, 12 cars on the lead lap, 2 laps of green flag racing on his tires. Then, having stopped with 61 to go, fuel to the finish is a question, but he passed up the opportunity to come in and get fuel.
Again, when you're a crew chief, you've got a playbook that's telling you, okay, cost versus gain. You know where your competition is, you know who you're racing, understand the fuel mileage of your car and how much speed you're going to lose on those tires versus a chance on getting back in traffic and getting your car damaged.
And the other decision he had to make came at the green-white checker finish. Caution comes out. Kurt's got about 50 laps of racing on his tires now, but he's the leader. And the crew chief's going to call him off the racetrack as the race leader, setting up for a green-white checker.
Well, Chad Knaus made that call for him last year, because remember the way Jimmy Johnson blew through the field and passed everybody?
Yeah.
But, 2 to go, 50 laps on the tires. He knew he had no shot at winning if somebody did put tires. Those guys were going to pit behind him. They put a little gas in the car, put 4 tires on it. He knew he had a good car and got it done in 2 laps.
And really nice job by the entire 2 team on Sunday. Talk about the last pit stop, no mistakes when they had to. The money was on the line there. The last topic where Kurt's concerned, that victory lap. What was that?
I got to say, this car looked real strong all day, but I think that was the hardest lap of the day.
That was a cross between like Ricky Bobby, Cole Trickle, and Alan Kulwicki in there.
Yeah, do they take 1 lap away from him for leading because he's giving one of them back now?
Even got the cowl flap up. Yeah. Kurt's going to join us a little while. We'll ask him just that question. What was that? So championship standings now after 4 races. Jeff Gordon continues to hold the lead. This week, 43 points over a very consistent Clint Boyer. There's Kurt in 3rd with his 3rd top 10 finish in 4 races this year. Carl Edwards up 5 spots to 4th. Brian Vickers up 6 spots to 11th. Up next, the moment that changed the race for a lot of teams on Sunday when a stray tire trapped many a lap or more down. We'll dig into that in a minute. And that wasn't the only thing from Pit Road Sunday we want to explore. Fueling difficulties and how pit parking played a role into Carl Edwards' late 2-tire call. And we'll look at the top 35 and owner points with 1 race to go before the switch to this year's standings. That and more when NASCAR Now continues.
Had a tire get loose on pit road. A mechanic walked out halfway out to the racing surface. I'm going to tell you what, NASCAR is not going to be happy with that crew member at all. He was halfway across the infield grass.
I mean, something very terrible could have happened right there, and that crewman lost his mind.
it.
The third caution of Sunday's race that waived for the stray tire and tire retriever came out in the middle of green flag pit stops and really put the hurt on a lot of people. On lap 40, before the green flag stops began, 35 cars on the lead lap. When the caution came out at lap 67, just 6. And after the tail end of the lead lap thing played out, there were 15 in all, and since 12 finished on the lead lap, the yellow sure did change the outlook on the day for a lot of people.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that he understood the compromising position he put himself in. Obviously, Atlanta's a very fast racetrack, and the proximity from pit road to the racetrack is not all that great as you look at some of the other tracks to start with, and to chase an errant tire that close to the racetrack under a green flag condition, his safety was our concern.
Well, rolled into the 98 pits, and they kicked it back out. You know, the first stop, it was close to their pits, and then this stop here, it went into their pits, so they just kicked it back out. And I'm worried about the stop, and Jimmy took off running for the tire, and it was too late. And we're probably in a little trouble. You know, he's been doing it a long time. It's just a natural reaction for him. It's just a mistake, and hopefully it's not too bad.
You know, we don't want to ruin anybody's race, especially NASCAR's. So we want to play by the rules and do everything right. If you know, if we did something wrong, we need to look at it and not do it again.
It affected us a lot because we had pitted the same lap, and then we got 2 laps down, and it just took us 130 or 40 laps to get back on the lead lap. So in the end, it was okay, but at that particular moment, it wasn't very good.
Well, it's a dangerous situation. NASCAR probably did what they thought was the right thing, so I can't argue with it. I mean, it's unsafe, and I wouldn't want to see anybody get hurt.
I said something about maybe that crew member should do something about it, because I mean he kind of ruined the whole race. We went from having a lot of cars on one lap, what I felt anyways, to no cars on one lap hardly. And you know, if I would have kept going, I would have been 4th or 5th. But you know, I didn't, and it screwed it up. But yeah, he seemed to ruin a good part of that race.
But Jimmy Watts, the gas man for the 47 car, had this to say about the incident. Quote, "I saw the tire going away, and it was a reaction, the wrong one," end quote. It so happens that frequent NASCAR Now contributor DJ Kopp was a tire changer on the 47 car. He was right in the middle of all that action on Sunday afternoon, and he joins us now live via satellite from Kurt Busch Incorporated. DJ, thanks for the time. Take us through exactly what went wrong on the pit stop that set this whole thing off.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic at that moment. It was green flag stops. We just finished. Everybody's focused on what's going on when you go over the wall. And it was real tight. Marcos came in a little short, so the back end of the car was actually sitting inside the box of the car behind us, which was the 98 car. Usually in situations like this, crew members will help each other, even though they're on separate teams. In this case, we didn't get any help. Our rear tire carrier brought the tire back, put it on the wall, and I didn't see it, but there's many people that from the racetrack that did say they saw one of the guys from the 98 car, 2 hands on the tire, roll it back across pit road. The crew chief, we had some issues going on during the pit stop. Crew chief, when he saw the tire, I think what ended up happening was he said, "Hey, go get that tire." By the time he actually comprehended and the tire moving in the direction it was, and that information got relayed over to our gas man, he went after it. Well, he's actually restricted a little bit by the fire apron that he wears, so when he started running, he was running at the speed that was pretty much the same as that the tire was moving. So, and he made the commitment, he was after it, thinking he was doing in the best interest of the team, and we all saw the end result. That tire got out there a little further than we had hoped.
Now, I would say the chaos factor was pretty high while all of this was going on. What was going on the radio? What were you seeing? What were you hearing?
Well, like I said, initially, you know, they said to go get the tire, and then the crew chief was focused on what was going on in the pit stop. So when the stop did actually end, it made it difficult for him to actually catch up to that tire. So the last instruction that we had been given was somebody go get that tire. It was just dumb luck. You know, we ended up being in a spot where if it didn't run perfectly parallel over to the Legends car track, that tire would have hit the grass, fallen over, and none of this would have been an issue. But it just so happened we were in one of those pit stalls where that tire just kept staying on the asphalt and kept on rolling right back out. So afterwards, it came over there. We brought the tire back. The NASCAR officials went in and they talked. And, we served the penalty, tail end of the longest line, and we move on for the rest of the race from there. Nothing could really be done with for it.
I don't know if you did pit practice on this Monday or not. We didn't speak about that before we went on the air, but I assume it's been a topic of discussion today anyway?
It has. My phone's rang a few times, and it's been a buzz, that's for sure. You know, the end result, it was something that wasn't the right thing that had been done. But, you know, I gotta commend NASCAR because they really have done a lot for safety on pit road, and that's ultimately why this caution came out, is because somebody's life was on the line. Throughout the years, NASCAR's made great changes to pit road. You know, exhaust pipes on the right side now so that the fumes aren't being blown on the gas men. You know, that's just one of them. Pushing the car 3 pit stalls down pit road. I mean, they're trying to keep it safe for us. So when things like this happen, you know, I expect that it's going to be an interesting day in the meeting room tomorrow when we get back to pit practicing. We did not practice today, to answer your question, though.
All right, DJ, thanks for the time, and we'll see you in Bristol here in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, so you've heard the report there from DJ. You heard the audio with Frankie Kerr, John Darby, the series director, with his side of their concerns. And your reaction now as competitors is what?
A couple of things. I know, and I feel bad for the guy that did it, but he said, hey, it was a reaction, the wrong one. You know what, when you're in a situation like that and you have a job on pit road, you can't react the wrong way, because it is not only your safety, but the safety of others. The other thing is, if it's true what they said, if it's true, and there is a film or a NASCAR official that can prove that the 98 car crew member did roll that tire across pit road, that guy should be in more trouble than the rest of these people, because that has happened. Guys will get mad if you roll a tire in their pit area. They'll get mad and roll it out to get you in trouble. And if that's what happened, he needs to be in bigger trouble.
It's been a crazy year. I mean, we came into the race thinking we've seen everything, as many ways to lose the race as you can, and this beats all. And I say there's commitment, and then there's overly committed, and obviously the young man was overly committed, because these guys are trained, and I'll challenge Ray just a little bit and say that these guys are trained to do whatever it takes to help win the race. This obviously exceeds that limit, but this guy was trying to do what he thought was right, and we see what I got.
It just becomes one of those things.
It does, but again, and I got to go back to Ricky and say, hey, look, you know, you can't run out in the middle of a field of grass with cars going by at 180 miles an hour, and it changed the outlook of that race. When you are on pit road, you have a responsibility not only to yourself and your car, but to all your competitors. So a little bit carelessness changed the outcome. Well, maybe not the outcome, but the face of that race for a lot of people.
Put a lot of guys 2 laps down.
Ray would have, if he would have just left the tire alone, left the tire just keep rolling, and it brought the caution out, would it have been that big a deal then, as it is right now, as the crew member running after it?
No, but sometimes in situations like that, if that tire stops, I have seen NASCAR wait it out until everybody gets through their pit cycle and then put the caution out to remove the tire.
Yeah, NASCAR did the right thing. It was uncomfortable watching it, wasn't it?
They have the option, if the tire just sits down by itself, of waiting a few laps. They don't have the option when a crew guy runs out there. There's some other things that happened on pit road on Sunday that I want to dive into as well, because it was kind of adventurous there. First of all, cars having trouble taking on fuel. Happened 3 times that we saw. The winner, Kurt Busch, lap 70, had to pit twice. Younger brother Kyle, lap 105. Tony Stewart, lap 188. All had troubles getting fuel into the car. Then, a little bit later on, we're going to talk about some parking problems that caused a couple other people to alter their take on pit road. You see Dale Jr.'s crew there doing some work on the spacer on the left rear of his car, but where Jr.'s car is pitted was right ahead of where Carl Edwards was. And on the last set of pit stops, when Edwards came in and said that they were just going to take 2 tires because of where Jr. was pitting and when he would commit, it altered the pit strategy for the race. So, first of all, getting fuel in the cars. 3 cars, 1 race, having trouble getting fuel in the cars. Trend or coincidence?
I'm going to wait for a rule change, because normally when something's going on, when you start to see people, they're trying to get fuel faster in the cars, somebody's found something, it's a little bit experimental, it's not working all the time. So I'll be waiting for a NASCAR bulletin coming out saying they can't do something.
You talk like that from experience, right?
It's kind of the way that it works. And what about the Carl Edwards thing, where he talked about part of what went into their decision to take just 2 tires on the last pit stop was where the 88 car was going to pit when he got there.
Well, I think from the driver's side, and it was the crew chief's decision to make that call, but from the driver's side, it's like, look, I don't want to get blocked in. Do whatever I can do to get out ahead of them or not get trapped in behind them, because last thing you want to do is give away the race.
I thought that was interesting to look at there, how not long after Carl left, here came Jr. into his pit, and he would have pulled across right in front of that 99 car. So interesting.
You got to remember, Junior got busted for having his right front tire on 1 inch on the line, so he's making sure that thing's in. And sometimes when you get your right front tire way in, the back's sticking out a little bit. He's not getting busted for having his tire on the box again.
Up next, when we continue on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable, the winner of Sunday's race, Kurt Busch, joins us. I'll bet he's still smiling after a performance like that. Got you drag racing this weekend. The AC Delco NHRA Gator Nationals from Gainesville, qualifying late Saturday night, Sunday morning, 2 a.m. Eastern Time, ESPN2, and then the eliminations and finals, 3 to 6 Eastern Time, Sunday afternoon on ESPN.
Absolutely gorgeous Sunday. Today, Atlanta Motor Speedway will drop the green flag for the 100th time as the Sprint Cup Series will do battle here.
I think we indeed are setting up for a very exciting race this afternoon.
Long day here, guys. Long day. Let's just be solid, do what we do, and we'll be in good shape. Appreciate everybody's commitment here.
50-year-old Mark Martin will start the action today in the Cobalt Tools 500.
How was that, Clinton? You started out tight right there? A little tight, but hopefully it'll come to us here.
Today, only 19 laps deep, but we're already seeing these cars use every inch of the racetrack.
This thing just flipped the switch 2 laps ago in the junk. Woo! All right, all right. I am so loose, crazy loose.
We've reached that part of the race where Kurt Busch is setting such a torrid pace.
I think we're just getting looser in, tighter in the center, but looser off. Loose in and off is a struggle. Maybe we'll just take a pound out of the right rear or just drop the right side track bar of those grounds, you know.
The yellow flag was brought out by the crew member, went out to retrieve that tire because he was in harm's way.
I actually paid the guy $10 to do that. Dude, awesome.
Carl Edwards now the race leader in front of Jimmy Johnson.
Getting just a little bit tighter around the center on the bottom. And I'm trying everything all over. I've had a good groove. I move around. It's just not easy out here. I'd say it is, man. I wouldn't want your job. He's hauling ass, and I can't run that top down there at 3 and 4. Got the 99 and then 8 seconds back to the next guy. That's it. The 99 and 8 seconds back.
Kurt Busch has come back to life.
Sorry about that, guys. It's all right, man. You're driving your ass off, man. Doing an awesome job. I can go at the very end. Okay, I can do it. We'll be all right. If you think you can, we need to try it.
The green flag is out. Carl Edwards gets a jump on Kurt Busch.
You are the leader, buddy. You are the leader.
We've got a tussle. We've got a fight. We've got a war. Your new leader is Kurt Busch in turn 4. The drag race to the checkered flag will be won by Kurt Busch in the Miller Lite Dodge.
You're the man, buddy. Good job, guys. Good job. Woo-hoo-hoo! Great job. Great job. I believe it's time to display some beer.
Well, younger brother Kyle won at Vegas, Kurt a race later in Atlanta. No other brother combo in NASCAR has won back-to-back races more times than the Busch brothers. 4 times they've done it. Previous record was 3, set in 1956 by Tim and Fonty Flock. Tim and his older brother Bob also won back-to-back races twice. But check this out, 1952, all 3 Flock brothers won in consecutive races. Wow. Tim at Rochester, New York, Bob 2 days later in Weaverville, North Carolina, and Fonty at Darlington 2 weeks after that. We welcome now to the program the winner of Sunday's race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Kurt Busch. I take it you're still smiling?
Definitely having a good time since then.
Let's pick apart a few things from the race, if you will. You ran so high on the racetrack, not like after 10, 15, 20 laps of a run, but right from the get-go in the race and all throughout the day. Conscious plan starting the race? Did you set your car up somehow to run that close to the wall, and was it white knuckle at times up there?
Oh, just during practice on Friday for qualifying, I noticed that the bottom groove was so bumpy with our setup that it made sense to run up towards the middle or high side of the racetrack. And even in qualifying, we ran the middle of the track. The car just felt better up top. And for tire wear, I felt like the less that I moved the wheel and the less that I gave it throttle and brake inputs, that it would save the tires and produce a better car on the long run. So that ended up being the game plan.
Wasn't a whole lot of paint left on the right side of that car at the end of the day. How hairy was it up there, or was it really not as difficult as it looked?
It was tough at times. We were tight on one session, and then we were loose for another 2 runs. And when you're loose getting into the corner, that means the right rear quarter panel is going to find that fence before the front does, and you're just hanging it out. And one time when I did get in trouble, I had to just calm myself down and tell myself, race the racetrack, don't race the competition. And we had guys like Edwards that were fast, Jeff Gordon was very fast, and there was Vickers chasing us down at the end. So we had different guys challenge us during different parts of the event.
Now let's talk about the Vickers thing there for a minute. About 20 laps to go. It looked like he closed the gap on you some, and then you were able to stabilize it. Were you saving anything there that you had to get to, or did conditions just come to you?
Well, I felt like just running my pace was the smart thing to do after I got my last set of tires, or at least I thought it was the last set. Yeah. And I've lost races at Rockingham and Darlington because I pushed it too hard too soon. And with 20 to go, why should I save them anymore? And so I pushed it hard after that point, sideways every lap, trying to put down the traction coming off the corner. And I saw him in the mirror, but if he was going to catch us, that's one thing. Passing you is another. And so it was going to be a good one. It reminded me of the days of Darlington, running right up against the wall and shooting for the victory.
Now let's talk about that, what ended up being last set of tires. You're out there in the race lead. Caution comes out with just a few laps left in the scheduled distance, and you and your crew chief begin discussing whether or not to pit. What were those conversations like, and what were your thoughts when he called you to pit road from the race lead?
Well, I felt comfortable and confident in my crew chief's decision, as well as my pit crew being able to push me out there up towards the front. They had a great solid stop. I don't think there was any question that we needed 4 tires to win the race. A couple guys were going to take 2 or even stay out, but it worked out in our favor, where Edwards was the only one that we had to pass once we took the restart. But I was leery of the restart, because if everybody wadded it up on the restart, Edwards would have been the winner. So luckily it all worked out in our favor.
Yeah, which leads me to my next question, which is, tell me what your thoughts were looking at his back bumper coming down for that final restart. Obviously you were thinking you had to go quickly.
I needed to go quick, but I couldn't be too close to him on the restart because he only had 2 tires. So I thought he had a better chance of slipping his tires, and that would have bottled us up and maybe even given Jeff Gordon an opportunity to pass us both. So I took it conservative, almost too conservative on the restart, but I was able to hold it wide open through 1 and 2, and Edwards gave me room on the outside. I have to thank him for that, and Jeff Gordon was right on top of us, keeping us honest. It was just one of those, you race 500 miles one way, and then you got to do a green-white checker another way. And so I'm just real happy to bring the Miller Lite Dodge home to victory lane.
Kurt, last year wasn't the season you were hoping for. This season has started off very solidly, and you've talked about changes within the team from last season to this. What was done, and what has it done for the race team that's put you in this position you're in now?
Well, with the tough economy, everybody's been having to cut back and look at how each of the programs work within race teams, whether it's engineering, whether it's the engine department. For us at Penske, Roger Penske has really sheltered us from a lot of the economy and the troubles with money, and he's given us the green light with hiring people. We've maintained everybody on our group, just mixed up a couple guys. And I think it's just been an overall improvement in all areas of the car, whether it's downforce, especially the engines, the same pit crews last year, and just overall team communication between me, Pat Trison, and our new engineer, Dave Winston. I think it's gone great.
Are you taking a lot of flack for that victory lap?
I think everybody's still trying to find a name for it. I should have a name if I'm going to do something special. So right now we're calling it tipping one back. That's been the theme today. Obviously going along with the theme with Miller Lite. It was really neat, something special. Me and my buddies brewed up one late night after some Miller Lites. Do the victory lap in reverse. Why not?
We were hoping you didn't hit anything on the way around. Hey, nice job Sunday. Very dominant performance. And let's see, we go to Bristol next. You won 5 times there. I think you'll be on the point there too. Good luck.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, we're pumped up about it.
All right, sure has been a better start to 2009 for Kurt Busch than it was a year ago. Take out the Daytona 500 finish in 08. And Kurt didn't have much to show for the early season. This year, though, 3 for 4 where top 10 finishes are concerned. A close third in the standings 1 month into the campaign. I know what we need for that victory lap. We need the big sound effect like when the truck backs up, the big beep, beep. Well, maybe we can just insert that in the TV broadcast. Reactions to what you just heard from Kurt Busch.
Well, one thing I really liked hearing from Kurt Busch was the resiliency that Roger Penske's assured the race team. No financial woes. You know, we're hearing all this bad news in the economy. It's great to hear somebody go, you know what? We really don't have a limit. We got to do just what it takes to run up front.
There is no medicine like winning with authority, and that's what he did. And you can hear it in his voice. The communication's good. He appreciates his engineer. You know, the fact is when you sit on the front row and you win, lead the most laps and win the race, that helps everyone.
And not just the resiliency economically, but the resiliency of Roger Penske. You know, Roger's been through not so great runs with his car. He embraced that new Dodge motor. He decided to rebuild that team. He brought in Pat Tryson a year or so ago, and now, you know, they look dominant. He jumped on that engine early. You know, Roger's a horsepower guy, so yeah. he recognized that there was going to be an advantage there, and all last year he worked on it, and they gave up probably some good runs to develop that new engine.
And Michael noting off the air, a little different look for the captain too?
Well, you know, the captain, we always see him, as you know, in a white shirt. It's got white monogrammed and embroidered. He was in a blue shirt. Said Penske Racing on it. So he's changing everything up. He's wearing different color clothes now.
He wins wearing that blue shirt. He's going to have it on every week the rest of the season, I guarantee.
He knows that money's still green.
Yeah, there you go. Up next, when the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable continues, tires and Truex. How did the much-discussed tire situation play out, and why kidney stones couldn't keep Martin down? On to the subject of tires and grip that was much discussed pre-race in Atlanta. How would it impact the competition we saw? Well, there was plenty of slipping and sliding. Lots of people spent their laps searching for grip that was pretty hard to find. Didn't see any particular theme to the cautions, though a couple of cars did have right rear problems. In all, the tires were a factor, but not the factor, in Sunday's Atlanta race. Jeff Gordon among those commenting afterwards about what he felt out on the racetrack.
There was a lot of slipping and sliding going on out there, and you know, that one time we got the lead and I thought, oh man, you know, this thing is just driving so good, we're going to check out on these guys. And I was just cruising, and all of a sudden the car just went, you know, completely sideways, and I just had to start, you know, really backing off. I knew at that point, you know, we had to be careful about how hard we could push. So we had some tire wear and tire management conditions that we have to address.
They wore well. We didn't have any major issues with them. You know, was there a lot of grip out there? Not a ton, but there never is here, so I can't really complain about them. I thought they were good.
Maybe go back to drawing board, I guess. I don't know. I ain't no tire engineer, but we struggle to get the tire to match the car at a lot of tracks, and you know, the COTs just cause a lot of problems for a lot of people, and we're trying all the teams are trying to figure the car out, and the engineers at Goodyear are trying to figure out the car, and it's true. It's a real challenge for the sport.
Thoughts of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bob Osborne, Jeff Gordon, among others. Your thoughts now on the grip and the racing and the tires that we saw from the weekend.
Guys, I'm not going to beat Goodyear up this week. I think they brought a decent tire, and we've said over and over again, it's hard to build a tire for this COT. The NASCAR's letting them look at making a bigger tire, a larger tire, but overall, they brought a tire that ran safely through a fuel run. I think that my feeling is that the right rear tire issues were caused by cuts or damage. It's provided good racing. It was like Darlington. The cars were sliding around, but I think that was more a factor of handling than tires.
Yeah, in this case, the tire's always an easy scapegoat, isn't it? But the driver has to distinguish between sliding around because of the tire or because of my car. And that's the only way the driver's going to help the crew chief, is to say, no, this car needs a little bit here, as opposed to the tires are my problem.
A little bit out of order, but I want to back up to the tire rolling caution that came out in the middle of the green flag pit stops and deal with another topic that I think is kind of important. That whole cars on the tail end of the lead lap situation that seems so confusing for people that watch racing. How does it work? Well, when a caution comes out, what happens? The pace car gets in front of the race leader, always. So when the leader comes to pit road and he pits, what happens? He falls in at the end of the line. Well, guys who choose not to pit end up between the leader and the pace car. That's how they're on the tail end of the lead lap. Now, in sports car racing, there's a rule. They call it the wave around, where they always restart the race after a full course yellow with the leader directly behind the pace car. So every one of those tail end of the lead lap cars in a sports car race would be waved past the leader, in essence giving them a free pass under the caution and allowing them to come around to the tail end of the field. I'm curious your thoughts on that, if you'd like to see that kind of a wave around rule in NASCAR or not, if you are okay with the way things work.
Absolutely.
You want the wave around?
Yeah, as a driver, you don't want to restart the race as the leader, 20th in line. It drives you crazy.
Well, the wave around would be great as a driver because you get that free pass. Instead of one free pass, there's maybe 10 of them. We've seen a scenario in the race there, you know, where some guys got a lap down and didn't deserve it, actually.
As an owner, I wanted it because my cars have been wrecked in that. But as a fan, I don't want it. No free pass. Nothing for nothing. Those guys didn't earn their way back around. They shouldn't be given a free pass.
Yeah, I don't know, just something that rubs me the wrong way. It just, you know, give all those guys a free mile and a half on Sunday. No, let them earn it.
Yeah. But you're talking about, you're not in the car driving
but
it.
I'm sitting there watching it.
It'll rub you the wrong way if you restart 20th.
It would, and it would be if I was paying for one of those race cars too, but it's just something about it that just doesn't rub me the right way. Let's talk about top 35 and owner points. This next race at Bristol, the last time that last year's points are used to determine the guaranteed starters. Then we go on to this year's. Guys on the bubble. We saw Sam Hornish Jr. He is only 51 points to the good after Atlanta. 32nd place owner standings right now. The car driven by Ryan Newman, only 47 points to the good. Joey Logano in the Gibbs 20, only 44 points ahead of 36th place. Going to Bristol, the Racers Group, the Kevin Buckler 71 car with David Gilliland driving now, only 24 points inside the top 35. And the 35th place car, who saw this coming? Mark Martin in the Hendrick 5, 9 points ahead of 36th, heading to Bristol as we check out the bubble, if you will, in the top 35. And again, remember, after Bristol, we go to this year's owner points to determine who gets the guaranteed starting spots at Martinsville.
And anything can happen. You know, as good as that 5 car is run, a crash, 2 blown engines, and a flat tire. Anything can happen. And you say, well, Mark's a good qualifier, and Hendrick's got great stuff. What if you get a flat tire during qualifying? You're going home. Yeah. There could be some good cars going home here in the next couple weeks.
Now, don't anybody hit me for talking about points in the chase right
Brad's
now.
not here.
Please.
You're all right.
But Mark Martin's 189 points out of 12th place after 4 races. Any concern there?
Well, I think there's got to be some concern, but he needs 185, 190-point days, and Mark Martin can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you just got to get rid of those difficulties, get rid of those engine failures. A tire, Mark Martin can get it done.
Any of you ever have a kidney stone?
No.
Not during the race.
I've had him twice. Let me tell you, I have a lot of admiration for Martin Truex Jr. Even though he passed the kidney stone on Saturday night, to get in that one car on Sunday and drive 500 miles, not just run 500 miles and not just pass the kidney stone, but pass cars from 23rd to 10th, attaboy.
I'm sorry about this, but it may be exactly what the doctor ordered. Because if you look at how this thing unfolded, you needed to be patient. No urgency. Smooth on the gas, off the gas. I mean, if he was in pain, it probably helped him. Hard way to do it.
Yeah, and good for him that he passed the stone on Saturday night, because again, having had one of those, he'll make you drive off the side of the road in a street car, let alone a race car. Up next, we build up the Bristol High Banks. 500 laps of bull ring racing 1 week from Sunday. A preview's next.
We're underway at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Trouble, it's the race leader off turn 2, spinning and hitting the inside wall, Kyle Busch. And Harvick is held out by Stewart. Stewart spins, slams into the outside wall. Everybody taking evasive action.
Bristol Motor Speedway has hosted NASCAR racing since 1961, when Jack Smith, with relief driving help from Johnny Allen, won the first Cup race. Just over half mile around, 24 to 30 degree variable banking in the corners now. Darrell Waltrip holding the Cup record for most wins at Bristol with a dozen. Let's talk about the next race on the Sprint Cup schedule now with Ray, Mike, and Ricky. When you get ready to go to Bristol as a driver, owner, broadcaster, what do you think of when you get ready to go to Bristol?
Excitement. That's the first thing. As a driver, it's an incredibly fun place to race. You drive down the corner, got a lot of banking to it, so you carry a lot of speed in it. The banking holds the car a lot. Back to the gas. They've changed that racetrack, you know, in 07. They've widened the front straightaway, the back straightaway, makes it a little bit easier. But hey, remember, this is the first short track, so if anybody was upset at anybody for the last 3 races, payback time.
Tubing, I think tubing. We put tubing in the fenders and around and cut the wheel wells real big so nothing rubs, but the front fenders are braced up real good at Bristol.
I agree with Mike. Fun by yourself. You put the other cars with you, it becomes very difficult. You're vulnerable.
You know, it's funny you talk about the way they've changed the racetrack, because watching the highlights of last spring's race there, and it hasn't made it any easier. There's still a lot of cars going flying and spinning and bent up and all the rest.
But it drives so much different. I mean, it just totally drives like a different racetrack. It looks like the same old Bristol, but it's not, believe me.
It appears to give the driver a little breathing room if he gets loose off the corner.
I think the side-by-side racing has come back there a little bit, but you're still going a half mile in under about 15 seconds in a car that big, so not a lot of time to react.
Yeah, you get a little confused at times. You're not sure if you're on the front straightaway or the back straightaway.
That's pretty cool to see Jeff Burton win there, leading the Childers Sweep 1 year ago, and of course they'll be looking to get back to victory lane if they can this time around. Weather is always a factor, it seems like, at Bristol, because it's a little unpredictable to run in the East Tennessee hills in late March. It could be a little on the chilly side. It could be a beautiful, nice, warm day. How does weather affect things on a concrete surface track?
Not as bad, really, as it does on a paved track, because the concrete, it doesn't react as much to the temperature. But, you know, it seems like when that place is hot, that it's actually slicker. So when it's cold, it's really not a bad place to race. I mean, unless it's snowing like it does there sometimes.
We don't want that. Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, up next, the finish of Saturday's Atlanta race for the Camping World Truck Series. Certainly worth another look. That when the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable continues. Racing this weekend, get your horsepower fix from the dragsters. AC Delco NHRA Gator Nationals from Florida, qualifying late Saturday night, Sunday morning, the eliminations and finals Sunday afternoon, 3 to 6 Eastern Time on ESPN.
We know that Kyle Busch is going to struggle getting back up to speed if he doesn't have third gear. This is going to be ugly for him. And by the way, here comes Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has got the momentum back up in his 51. Kyle Busch says, wait a minute, I want to win once again in this season. This is what we come to Atlanta for. This is what makes this place so special. Coming in turn number 4, Kyle Busch will win again.
That's something else, isn't it? Kyle Busch leading the Camping World Truck Series standings by 25 points over former champ Todd Bodine. Busch has won 4 of his 5 Atlanta starts in the trucks. That series off until March 28th at Martinsville. Kyle now telling us about those adventurous last few laps.
Yeah, the last restart coming there, I stepped in it, and as soon as I stepped in it and applied power, it snapped it too. So I had to go all the way to 4th and just kind of lugged it all the way around there. You know, we just had to, I got out of the way so those guys could go and race. Didn't want to block them up, but fell back, I don't know how far, but I thought it was like 8th or 10th or something like that. It felt like an eternity to get this thing up to speed and get going, but once we got there, man, I didn't lift them final 12 laps. I just stayed in the gas wide open, ran the middle groove, and it prevailed. That was pretty awesome. So to race those guys like that, and I don't think we out-trucked them today, but we out-drove them at the end.
Okay, that's just fun. I don't think I lifted those last 12 laps. That's just fun.
I got to say, for everybody watching, winning is much harder than Kyle Busch makes it look.
How about he fell back, officially, by the way, it was 9th that he fell back to.
Can you believe that? He first of all, got out of the way, went to the left, all the way back to 9th, Alan, and then worked his way back up there in what, 8 laps? I mean, it was incredible.
Oh, he's amazing. When he's talking about running around there wide open for 12 laps and keeping momentum in the middle, I mean, it's just unbelievable what that kid does.
Didn't we just finish talking about tires and how they give up and that kind of thing and how grip was hard to find? And here this kid's going to run through 12 laps flat out.
Kind of hurts your feelings, does it, Mike?
Well, the one thing you got to remember, too, though, we'll compliment the trucks a little bit. They got a lot of spoiler, got a lot of side force on them, but that's a lot of laps to run wide open.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So congratulations to Kyle Busch, and once again, Martinsville next for the Truck Series. Up next, our final thoughts on this edition of the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. Now on ESPN.com, Marty Smith writes about how Jeff Gordon's newfound comfort with the new car can only mean bad news for the rest of the drivers in the Sprint Cup Series. A couple notes: Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Bobby Labonte, Elliott Sadler, Darlington Raceway, a Goodyear tire test on Wednesday. National Stock Car Commission upheld the penalties against Nationwide Series driver John West Townley, his owner Jay Robinson, and his crew chief Blake Bainbridge, originally handed down at Daytona. And happy birthday to Mike Wallace. The big 5-0 on Tuesday.
Right. They got that wrong. There's no way it can be. I mean, maybe 40, but I don't
Well, what is it? 50 is the new 40.
Okay. All right.
Something
well,
like that. All right, final thoughts. You got a final thought besides
Yeah,
Mike's?
50? Oh, my God.
Thanks, Ray. How many years ago were you there, was that?
You know what? The Busch brothers the last 2 weeks going to Bristol. Both those guys are good there. Could be Busch family 3 weeks in a row.
For the guys that are close to the top 35, Bristol's no reprieve.
Yeah.
Hard way to go.
That's for sure.
Mark Martin's going to come back at Bristol. He's going to have a great race at Bristol.
Is he going to win?
I think he's got a shot at it.
There you go.
He does have a shot at it.
That's better. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. You threw that one on me.
Well, you know, you never be it from us to keep from throwing somebody under the bus when we have an opportunity. And we thank you for watching our NASCAR Now Monday Roundtables. Shannon Spates got the Tuesday show and everything that's happening in racing.